Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. I've personally lost over 100 pounds. I've helped my hometown lose over 35,000 pounds, and now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by helping you gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. And my friends, the perfect time to start taking action is now. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy, Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 186. It's about time, and that's an intriguing title, isn't it? And we'll see what that means here in a second. But first, I want to give you a quick heads up. Hang out after the episode, and I'm going to tell you why it's going to be important and why you're going to want to get on the pre-registration email list for my Transformation ReBoot program. Pre-reg opens up in 1 week, and I'll tell you why it's important to get in on that group so you get first dibs on some cool things. So hang out after the episode to hear more about that. Now, it's about time to get started. So time is the ultimate currency, and it is the most often used excuse that I hear people make as to why they can't be healthy, why they can't get in shape, why they can't eat healthy. All right, I just don't have enough time, Adam. I don't have enough time. And there's a couple of myths that I want to attempt to debunk in this episode. The first being, this isn't the perfect time. All right. The second being, I don't have enough time. And then at the end of the episode, I'm going to give you a process that I call the Lifestyle Audit. And it is a game changer. And I've talked about it a couple of times, but we've never really just dove super deep on it inside of an episode. So we're going to do that today. So first, let's kick it off and talk about the perfect time, right? We get in our head, I'm somebody who develops programs, and I put things out there like the Transformation ReBoot, the Million Pound Mission Bootcamp, the Keto Done Right program. I have all these things that people can plug into, and I'll just hear people say, well, it's just not the perfect time. It's not the right time. It's not the perfect time for me to start this because blah, 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 blah. So, people will be like, oh, tomorrow will be better because today is kind of busy. Or, if it's the middle of the week, like, let's start it on a fresh week. Let's start on a Monday, right? We tell ourselves that lie. Then, Monday comes and like, this week's kind of busy. I've got a work thing. It's not the perfect time to launch this thing. Let's start next week. Well, next week's a little bit busy. In fact, the rest of this month is a little bit busy. So let's start next month. And then we go on until eventually it's just, well, let's just start over again in January because January is the new year. And we go through this process, and I see people, like I legit had somebody that told me, months ago, like during the spring, that they were going to start getting serious about it in September. And I'm like, what? Like, you can't eat healthy until September? You can't sweat until September? Obviously, this episode's coming out at the end of October, so hopefully they kicked it in. And they haven't yet, by the way. Update, spoiler alert, that person has not gotten healthy yet because I see them periodically. So anyway, these are the things that we tell ourselves, I'll start tomorrow. No, wait, I'll start Monday or maybe next week or next month and then January. And we go through this process. And a quote that I really like that I've used in a previous episode is this, are we going to start one day, or are we going to make this day one? That's the question you need to ask yourself. All right, I heard that one on the Minimalist podcast, by the way. Check them out. Are we going to start one day, or are we going to make this day one? That, like, if we can just answer that and use that as a filter, anytime that we want to launch something or just create a new habit, right? It doesn't have to be about fitness. It could be financial. It could be with relationships. It could just be any positive habit. Are you going to start that one day and keep putting it off, or are you going to make this day one? That hit home with you yet? So with the perfect time thing, I think the main battle that we're dealing with is the fear of failure versus the willingness to get outside of our comfort zone and learn. Right? Because we know that there's that thing that's just that little bump on the road, that work meeting. There's that holiday, that birthday, that vacation, and you're just afraid that that's the danger zone that will send you down that downward spiral, and you won't succeed. And that puts that fear of failure in us. And really, we need to flip that mindset and say, you know what? I keep putting things off because of that particular danger zone. How about I get outside of my comfort zone and learn how to solve that danger zone? So why not start now? Right now is the perfect time. Now is the perfect time to get started. And especially with anything that I create, like my transformation reboot that you hear me talking about all the time now, I'm in love with it because it is the program that I designed to help you figure out those tough times. So when somebody says, oh, I've got this vacation, I go, pump your brakes. Do you normally gain weight during or after vacation? Or do you struggle getting back in gear after vacation? Yeah, that's true. Okay, how about we do the program now while you're on vacation so that I can help you get through that and learn how to better handle that situation. And it's like light bulb. People just don't think that way with their health, with their fitness, with their transformation process. So I like to kind of, like I said, flip that on the ear and say, how about we start now and learn? And you want to be in a program during the tough times so that you can get that support. You can have that community or that coach with you so you can learn how to overcome those tough times. So when it comes to, debunking the myth of this isn't the perfect time, again, you have to use that filter. Are we going to start one day and keep putting it off? Or are we going to make this day one? We have to be willing to get outside of our comfort zone and learn. And we have to realize that now is the perfect time. We need to learn how to deal with the tough times and plug into programs that will help you do that. Don't go out there and try to hack it out on your own, because we have proven to ourselves, most likely, that we're not successful in doing that. So for things to change, we have to change. For things to get better, we have to get better. And we have to stop thinking that we're going to wait for the perfect time, because the perfect time is now. All right. So hopefully we have thoroughly debunked that one, and you're motivated to get started now with whatever your goal is that you want to achieve next. The second myth we're going to debunk is, Adam, I just don't have time. All right. So way back, almost 140 episodes ago. Wow. That's probably like in 1952 or something like that. So back in episode number 47, I talked about the 4 lies that we tell ourselves about time. So I want to bring those back. I know a lot of you actually have probably listened to that one, because a lot of people have been with me from the beginning. A lot of you go back to the start and listen to all the episodes, and I appreciate you for doing that. I appreciate that effort. But it's always good to have a little bit of a refresher. So if you want to go deeper on this, go to episode 47 and check out the 4 lies that we tell ourselves about time. We'll kind of briefly recap them here with this episode. So number one lie, and these aren't necessarily like ranked like top lie or anything like that, but number 1 of 4, if I can't give it my all, it's not worth doing it all. This kind of layers into that transformation light switch syndrome a little bit, where it's like all or nothing, all the way in, all the way out. There's no, I'm just going to do my best. And that's the mindset that we need to have with this lie is that, just do your best. That's especially when we hit those tough times. Like if you struggle with vacations, with that example that we were using earlier, if you struggle with vacations, let's start by doing our best, which it doesn't mean you have to have like the healthiest vacation ever, but maybe you get right back into the gym after vacation instead of taking 2 more months off and continuing to gain weight. That would be a great, I'm doing my best step, right? And people just get caught up in the mindset of, it's the whole perfect time thing again. No, there's this thing, there's this meeting, there's this trip, it's busy at work. So if I can't give it my all, I'm just not going to do it at all. I'm not going to be healthy. It's the guy that told me he was going to get healthy in September and still hasn't, It's, I just can't put everything into it, so I'm not going to do it at all. I can't focus on eating healthy at all. And it's just a bunch of BS, really. It's just, it's something that, that we fall victim to because we're a little bit weak-minded in that area. I think that we need to toughen up a little bit. So that's lie number 1. Lie number 2 is my career does not allow time for fitness or food. Now, I will admit that I'm not a good example. I wouldn't say I'm not a good example. I'm a great example of somebody that's dedicates time for fitness and food, but I'm not a good, I don't have the best perspective because I'm in the industry, right? So, I make fitness and nutrition a priority because that's part of my job. That's part of who I am. But I think that, the average person that works that 9 to 5, you just have to think, am I willing to use a little bit of time at the end of the day and the beginning of the day to set myself up to succeed during the day, right? So I talk to a lot of people that are like, for example, like a medical sales rep that goes in with doctors during surgeries and has to like teach them how to use things or pitch them. I don't really 100% understand it, but they're like in surgery and they can't bring food in. I'm like, okay, let's just start off with the basics, right? You are at home when you wake up and when you go to bed. So those are 2 times that we can pretty regularly have a good healthy meal. Let's start there. It's that, again, that all or nothing could creep up and say, well, I can't eat 5 healthy meals a day, so I'll eat 0 healthy meals a day. All right, and that's not us doing our best. That's not us representing ourselves well. So meal 1 and then the last meal, those are gonna be our staple healthy meals. Then maybe, most people get a lunch break. Okay, boom, let's go with that, right? So maybe that's a 3rd healthy meal. Maybe you can have a snack in your car while you're driving to the next thing or while you're driving home. Having some almonds, having, something packed away in a little cooler. Boom, there's a 4th meal. So just piece it together meal by meal, starting with when you wake up and when you are at home at the end of the day, and then work from there. And then as far as your career goes, here's the thing. You're either the boss or you're an employee. Those are the 2 options. So if you're the boss, you have control of your time. You have control of the ability to delegate, to set meeting times, to block out your calendar and delegate, right? And those are all in your power. If you're an employee, I just don't feel like traditional working conditions should be at the point where you aren't allowed to eat anything. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just busting it so hard that, I just don't see a employee situation where they say, okay, you have to go 12 hours straight. You're not allowed to eat at all. Like, I feel like something would be reported to some agency somewhere about those working conditions. So with a lot of those situations, people are just being very inefficient with their time. They're, not taking breaks when they could, or they're overworking, or they're overstretching themselves, or they're just messing around and not taking that time in the morning or at night to set themselves up to succeed again. So let's not use that lie anymore. All right, let's just start with the staple meals that we can start at the beginning and end of the day and work from there. Now, number 3 is a big one. The number 3 lie that we tell ourselves about not having enough time is my kids are keeping me too busy. And this one really, I'll be honest, it pisses me off because your kids need to be a part of your why. They are not a part of your why not, right? Let me repeat. The kids are a part of your why. They are not a part of your why not, my friend. The kids are part of the inspiration that makes you get up earlier in the morning and invest some time in you to be healthy so that you can walk your daughter down the aisle. The kids are part of that motivation that makes you say, okay, I've got to prep my meals because I have to keep my blood sugar in check. I have to keep my body fat, my weight in check so that I can be around for the grandkids, right? They're part of the motivation. They're part of the inspiration. They are not part of why you can't be healthy. And just think about this. Healthy mommies and daddies, that's an investment in the entire family. I know it's so hard, especially for moms. That motherly instinct is something just like otherworldly. I see it firsthand. My wife will drop everything for the kids. They are absolute number one priority. And, it can be tough because you have that guilt as a parent of, I feel like I want to be there in the morning for them, every day when they wake up. That's why I can't go to class. But if you have a supportive partner and spouse, maybe you can trade days, and do the best that you can do. But you have to think, you can invest a little bit of time in you, and that's going to pay off. Like, what would you do if I said, if you did XYZ for 2 hours a week, you're going to get an extra 20 years with your kids and their kids and maybe their kids. Would that be worth it? I would say yes. Right? But we don't think in that long-term perspective. We think, oh, my kid has to be in 29 different sports all at the same time, and I can't work out because I have to run them from practice to practice to practice to practice. And eventually you have to set some boundaries, because you're going to, I talked about working myself into the hospital. You could parent yourself into the hospital. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, like if you are just loading up your schedule like that, you can eat, you have to have some time for you. You have to have some time to invest in you, because again, I'll remind you that investment in you, an investment in healthy mom and healthy dad, is an investment in the family. And that's an investment in long-term connections with your extended family, the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids, and that's worth it. So get your mind wrapped around that, my friends. And I'm in it right now. Like, I've got a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. They're both doing sports, but my wife and I team up. We team up. Sometimes we're both there. A lot of times she's taking them to one thing, I'm taking them to a different thing. We trade days, and we make it work that way. And you have to communicate with your partner. You have to communicate with your spouse. If you're a single mom or a single dad, man, kudos to you. That's tough. That is tough as hell, but you can figure it out. All right. And don't feel guilty about, your kids. Maybe they don't do hockey this year. Maybe they just do one sport at a time. That I feel like, the kids will grow and develop, and they'll find the thing that they're going to be great at. Kids are awesome at that. Right. So I don't think we can beat ourselves up as parents about our kids not having enough opportunity if we're out there really just trying our best. There's a lot of great parents out there that beat themselves up that don't need to. So, okay, I feel like I've hammered that one pretty good. Number 4, I don't have time to meal prep and eat healthy. This is like the weakest one of all, right? This is like the weakest one of all. This is called, Adam, I'm lazy. I'm lazy about food and fitness, or I'm unmotivated, right? Because I will tell you this. It takes just as much time to chew an apple, maybe even less, than a Big Mac, right? It's more time efficient to go to the grocery once per week, load up healthy food, and meal prep it once per week or twice per week with the meal prep, than it is to go and wait in line at a drive-through, wait, pay extra money, very expensive, right? And eat something unhealthy, which leads to more expense down the road, because now we're talking, blood sugar medication and, all this stuff. So not saying that you don't have enough time to eat healthy is like saying you don't have enough time to breathe air, right? So we need to ditch this one. My meal prep strategy that I love to teach people is go to the grocery on the weekend, load up, do a meal prep day on the weekend, try to get several meals worth, and prepackaged if you can, not prepackaged, but you're going to, batch things up so that you can grab meals out of the fridge easy, just kind of grab and go. And then try to have something like a crock pot prep day midweek, like Wednesday or Thursday. You toss some meat, some vegetables. One of my favorites is just chicken thighs. I put a pack of chicken thighs in the crock pot with a can of salsa and a entire head of organic cabbage, and then I'll put some bone broth in there and let that cook overnight. Boom, when I wake up in the morning, it is deliciousness, and I'm good to go for several meals. So having kind of a midweek crock pot buffer in there, and the process repeats itself. And as you ingrain that as a habit, it gets easier and easier and easier. And guess what? You're saving money and you're getting healthier. So I feel like I just dropped a triple whammy of awesomeness on you there that you can implement right away and drop this time excuse. All right. So we've talked about the perfect time to get started is now. We've debunked 4 lies that we tell ourselves about not having enough time. Let's talk about the lifestyle audit. This is a process that, like I said, is a game changer. And it kind of brings it all home, because I'm going to put you into action. All right. Now that we have kind of drug you across to my side of the thinking process of, okay, the perfect time to start is now, and I do have time. Let's start getting strategic with that time. Let's get organized with that time, and let's get you into action like tomorrow, like today. All right. So the lifestyle audit process, there are three levels to this process. The first step that I'm going to have you take is I want you to break down your 168 total hours in the week. All right. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 168. Hopefully I did my math right. Otherwise, you can send me a comment on Instagram and correct me. But 168 total hours, I'm pretty sure about that. We all have that same 168 hours. So I want you to categorize your time with things like sleep, work, family, personal, fitness, buffer. Put buffer in there as a category as well. But just think about the different ways you spend your time. And buffer is like the in-between stuff where you're not really doing anything, like you're driving to work or you're reading a magazine or, you're just kind of just randomly checking the mailbox and things like that. So that would be lumped into buffer time. So that's the first step, is to categorize your time and then take that 168 hours and do your best guess on how the breakdown looks. And this is the thing that depresses people, because they realize they spend about 10 times as much time at work as they do with their family. But that should motivate you, right? That's where the inspiration comes from for this exercise. So that's the current breakdown. And some people can kind of guesstimate it. Like, definitely start with your work hours and your sleep hours and work backwards from that with the categories, because those are the two that are easiest. You can be like, well, I go to bed at this time, wake up at that time, add that up. That should fill up that category. Same thing with work. And then go into, I do 3 hour-long personal training sessions a week. So that's 3 hours in the fitness. I usually read 15 minutes every night before I go to bed. That could be personal development. So just kind of break down the categories and then fill up 168 hours worth of time, how the current breakdown looks. Next step, the ideal breakdown. So go from current to ideal. So take those 168 hours and make them what you want them to be. So take your same categories and manipulate them, and don't hold back. Like, if you legit want to sleep 10 hours every night, put that in there. Put 70 hours for the week with sleep. If you only want to work 25 hours a week, then put that in there. Make this ideal. Ideal. Don't hold back. All right, it's very important, because we want to have that target that inspires us. Then the third step is, I want you to choose just one category with the current, and I want you to add 10%. All right, so a 10% improvement, and we start that 10% improvement like within the next 24 hours. All right, so if you want to increase your sleep, then say, okay, what would a 10% improvement be for my sleep? Here's what I'm doing now. Just take 10% onto that and try to work backwards and schedule that in. So if you need to add an extra 30 minutes of sleep in, and you normally go to bed at 10:30 p.m., then go, okay, I need to go to bed at 10 p.m., and then everything starts to get more efficient from there. You make that commitment, you block it off in your schedule, and all of a sudden you realize, well, I can't screw around after work. I got to have my food prep done. I have to have the kids in bed a little bit earlier, and you work backwards from that commitment. But the commitment is the commitment, right? You guys are committing to doing that because we want to start making improvements right away and build momentum, and that's super important. So the 10% improvement is the jam, all right? That you're going to notice it and get that win right away, and you can do that in the next 24 hours. Maybe the 10% improvement is more you time or more fitness time, but block it off on your schedule, start working the numbers, and rework the category breakdown so that you know how those other hours need to be spent and how you need to manipulate those in order to find that time and pull it in that 10% improvement direction. So if you have any questions about this, or if you just want to give me a shout out and let me know how your 10% improvement is going in that one category, hit me up on Instagram at Million Pound Mission. I always answer my DMs. Now, sometimes people message me on Facebook, and Facebook is really hard. Like the messenger, I have to apologize to people all the time because I'll realize that their message gets filtered out and it like goes into the ether. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's been 2 months. Normally I answer everybody within 24 hours. And I pride myself on that. So if you send something on Facebook and I didn't reply, that was by mistake. That was not on purpose. Hit me up on Instagram. It's very easy for me to see messages that come through on that, at Million Pound Mission. And I would be glad to interact with you on this topic because I think it's a game changer. So we've learned that the perfect time is now. We learned that we do have time as we've debunked the 4 lies that we tell ourselves about time. And then now you've got your lifestyle audit process. And we're going to take action on that in the next 24 hours because that, my friends, is how we get out there. That's how we own it. Every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, good looking. Thank you for hanging out after the episode. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. Hopefully you have a little more time for me right now to listen and get a little more info on my transformation reboot program. I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, there are some advantages of getting on the pre-registration list. If you get on that list, you get a 4-day jump start, which, is important because in this program, we have these mini mastermind video chat sessions and they fill up quickly. And you can attend as many of them as you want. That's the cool thing, but they do fill up. So I always try to make sure that everybody gets at least one, but many people will sign up for 4 or 5, and that's just more value, more value, more value. So with the Transformation Reboot program, it's the connection is super important to me. And if you guys want more access to me and getting coached directly by me, then this is a great option. We are going to be opening up pre-registration in 1 week. All right, so you can go to millionpoundmission.com, click on the Transformation Reboot info. You will see it right there, and you can get signed up for that first to know email list and get all the good information on the Transformation Reboot program.